We've got breaking news in the NHL where the Penguins have fired head coach Mike Sullivan. He spent the past 10 seasons in Pittsburgh, leading the Penguins to back-to-back Stanley Cup championships in 2016 and 2017. Despite early success, it's been a rough stretch for the Penguins as of late, missing the playoffs in each of the past 3 seasons. Sullivan leaves the Steel City as the Penguins' all-time wins leader. He's also one of just 14 coaches in NHL history to win at least 400 games with one franchise. Now here's a look at the 7 head coaching vacancies we have right now across the NHL. In the East, that includes the Bruins, Rangers, Flyers, and now the Penguins. In the West, it includes the Blackhawks, Ducks, and Kraken. Let's now welcome in our Pete Blackburn for more on this. And Pete, after 10 years, what ultimately led to this situation deteriorating in Pittsburgh between Sullivan and the Penguins?
Well, I think roster construction is a big part of it. And anytime a coach is fired, you ask, well, was it because of coaching or was it because of construction and they taken the fall? I think Mike Sullivan probably falls latter into the construction category just because he's had frustrations with the retooling of that Penguins roster over the last few years. And he's made it pretty clear that he wanted to be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, but he wanted them to be closer to being contenders. And obviously, they're in a weird spot right now where they're in between wanting to rebuild and wanting to keep that window open under Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin in that core. Ultimately, though, I don't think that this decision gets made by the Pittsburgh Penguins if they don't run the coaching decision or the coaching change past that core. So when the Penguins say that they have mutually agreed to part ways with Mike Sullivan, I actually believe the team statement this time, and that's not often the case. You usually, they throw a guy a favor by saying that. I actually think that Mike Sullivan is probably better off not coaching the Pittsburgh Penguins, so this probably was a mutual decision.
So who would you like to see go to the Penguins for this head coaching opening, and is this a job that a lot of guys would want?
I think it's an intriguing job. Like, they still have Sidney Crosby. They still have the bones of something good there, as long as those guys want to stay, of course. But, I think that it's probably, if you want to contend with Sidney Crosby in his remaining years, I think you want a veteran head coach. A guy that jumps to the top of the list for me, who's not currently a free agent head coach, but is kind of trending that way, is Rick Tocchet from the Vancouver Canucks. I think Tocchet would be a great fit in Pittsburgh. He's a veteran guy. He's a player's guy. I think that he kind of can come in and transform that team almost immediately. And I would say the same thing for a guy like Joel Quenneville, who hasn't coached in the NHL for a while, but is looking to get back into those coaching ranks. So I think those are 2 veteran head coaches that I would definitely keep an eye on. David Quinn may be another one.
How important will it be for the next guy knowing that they have Malkin and Crosby there locked up?
Oh, I think that's huge because, and I think that if you're the Penguins, it's huge to have that security, knowing that those guys want to be there, that they will be there. I know that they're under contract, but, if they're tired of this, if they don't want to stick around for what is looking like a pretty methodical rebuild, then you got to figure that out. And, if they don't want to be there or there is uncertainty there, I think that changes the scope of your head coaching search. Like, if you're looking at more of a full-on rebuild, would you consider shifting gears and going after a guy like David Carl from the University of Denver, who is highly sought after right now? Even if they do want to make that pitch, I'm not sure that Pittsburgh is the most attractive option for a guy like David Carl, though.
On Sullivan's side of this, how quickly does he land on his feet, and where could you see him ending up? After all, we just saw that list of the 6 other teams that are looking for a head coach.
Based off his success in Pittsburgh, if Mike Sullivan wants a job tomorrow, he might be able to have one. I don't worry about his future. There are 2 spots that I think are at the very top of the landing spot list for Mike Sullivan. Number 1 is the New York Rangers, who just fired Peter Laviolette. Mike Sullivan was still the head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and as soon as Laviolette was fired, I think a lot of eyes turned towards him just because of his relationship with Rangers GM Chris Drury. They have a long-standing relationship that goes back years and years and years, and Drury has wanted Mike Sullivan in the past. Now he has an option to go get him. I would absolutely look at the New York Rangers as a high likely landing spot for Mike Sullivan. But another spot that I would consider is the Boston Bruins, because he has coached the Bruins before. He has links to that organization, and he's the father-in-law of Charlie McAvoy, who is one of the central pillars of the Boston Bruins. Just had a grandson in that family there. So it would make a lot of sense, and I think those two teams are probably at the very top of the list.
All right, Pete, thanks for hopping on to break down this breaking news at Mike Sullivan out in Pittsburgh after 10 years. Appreciate you coming on. Let's go ahead and take a look now at head coaches to win Stanley Cups after being hired mid-season. Mike Sullivan, right around the top of that list. 2016, he did it with the Penguins. Of course, 2019, it happened with the Blues as well. But the list isn't very long. But again, Mike Sullivan, his days are done in Pittsburgh, fired earlier today.